And I was torn because they called me and they're like, hey, can you stunt double for Neela, Tokyo Drift? Yes or no? Let us know. And I'm just like, oh, am I selling out for being involved in something that's going to uncover my underground world of drifting? But also on the other side, will I ever get this opportunity again? So I did it and it was really cool, but it was not as glamorous as you would think. I sat in Neela's car and they used all my hands and feet. So anytime you see like Neela's hands and feet, those are my hands and feet.
Well, I love the San Gabriel Valley.
Welcome to the My SGV podcast.
So I grew up here and I still live in Alhambra.
I was raised in between Temple City and Alhambra.
Eventually resided in South San Gabriel.
Our mission is to capture and share the stories of the people of the San Gabriel Valley.
Monterey Park has pretty much been my whole life.
Well, I'm proud to say that I was born and raised in the San Gabriel Valley.
We believe our diversity is what makes the SGV great. And no matter where you are from, in the San Gabriel Valley, you will feel welcome. All right, SGVers, welcome back to another episode of the My SGV podcast. Thank you for spending this time with us. We do appreciate it. If you are new here, we bring you the stories of the people of the San Gabriel Valley. And if you are a returning listener, thank you for spending this time with us. We do appreciate it. Oh, Victoria, I guess I didn't chat with you on what we're going to talk about. Oh no, we kind of did, right? I wanted to get your perspective on what it was like for you growing up as a homeschooler and the opportunities and the things that you could do or that you saw or had, the opportunity to participate in as a girl growing up in the homeschool system.
Mm-hmm. And so homeschooling is a lot of being like, I guess had more time to do other things than, being stuck in school because we were at home and mom was around to take us places. So we did like a lot of dance classes, music lessons. Then my younger siblings, they were more into sports. So they also they did like baseball, basketball. I don't really know if I would say I had a different experience as a girl. I guess maybe mom was more focused on ballet and dance for us because us girls came first before the boys. So that might have been something that was different. But yeah, I didn't notice any like big difference of being a girl versus a boy. Yeah, it was nice. Yeah, I don't know if in school it would have been different. If I would have seen more difference between how people treated my siblings, my brothers. Yeah. But yeah.
Growing up in the public school system, I didn't notice then, but I can look back now, like all the boys would, during recess, before and after school, they would like dominate like the 4-square space or the tetherball, or they were always playing in like certain spaces, right? And the girls, whether they were allowed to or not, they sort of were like doing something else. And I don't know if, I don't know why that is. I'm sure that they could participate, but they just sort of were like separated, right? And now as a father of 2 girls, I'm very, aware of the opportunities for my girls, as I want them to have every opportunity available to them, and expose them to everything. And I don't want them to be limited by anything just because that they're girls. And certainly my wife and I don't, start them off with the mentality that they can only do certain things. Everything is open to them. So that is quite important for us. The tie-in to our guest today, that will become obvious later. Before I get into the guest, thank you to Paris Baguette for providing the treats and refreshments for today's show. We do appreciate it. Check them out in the city of San Gabriel on Las Tunas. Paris Baguette. Say hi to Jason for us. Well, that probably is a more challenging tying into the guest today than any other one, but it'll become evident soon. So let me introduce today's guest. Gear up for today's episode with a true trailblazer in the drifting scene and a champion for women in motorsports. She's not only one of the first female drift racers in the USA, but also a pioneer who has steered her passion into empowering others. She founded Drifting Pretty in 2003, an organization dedicated to advancing women in racing, where she has mentored over 100 female drifters. She's also a podcaster, producing the Drifting Pretty podcast, capturing the stories of women who break barriers and burn rubber. She's also a children's book author, inspiring the next generation with tales of courage and adventure in Sachiko Goes Racing, based on her own experiences in the drifting world. This multifaceted entrepreneur has not only competed in Formula Drift, but has also crafted a space for women to shine in the adrenaline-filled world of motorsports. All right, here we go. She's been featured in LA Weekly, Speed Channel, LA Times, ESPN2, Super Street, Japanese American National Museum, Peterson Automotive Museum, Google Carboy, Rafushimpo, Formula Drift, and more. Buckle up as we dive into a conversation filled with speed, storytelling, and the spirit of empowerment with the incredible, the inspirational Nadine Sachiko Hsu. Nadine, welcome to the show.
Hi, Russell.
Hi.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. I really wanted to feel all that, and this morning I was struggling. I was like, I want to capture all of that because that's all you, right?
Thank you.
Yeah. So Nadine, tell the listeners, what is your connection to the San Gabriel Valley?
I was born and raised here. I was born at Arcadia Methodist Hospital. Never left.
Okay. You always been in Arcadia then?
I have. I was born in Arcadia, raised in Temple City, went to Arcadia schools. And I currently work in Arcadia. So, yeah, I feel like I never left. And I've always been here. I haven't moved away. Some people move away and come back, but I never left. So,
what was life like growing up here in the SGV for you?
Memorable. I had a very fun teenagerhood, being rebellious and, having a lot of fun in the SGV, and there's just so much to do and explore, and I really wanted to get out and explore with my friends, so I had fun. And then in the SGV, my grandparents, they're Japanese American, and they would introduce me to a lot of really good Japanese food, Japanese supermarkets, and I always felt blessed that I had everything at my fingertips, that was my culture. I'm half Japanese and half white, and I really wanted to explore the Japanese side of my personality and my likings, and so the SGV kind of let me explore that without having to really leave my confines, really. Mm. So yeah.
Well, I'm so curious as to your experience as a mixed race, growing up here, especially mixed Japanese. I'm curious also why you said rebellious. So what does that mean to, someone growing up in Temple City, Arcadia?
I think being a child of Asian parents, and my mom's white, but my dad is Japanese, but they want the most for you. So they want you to get straight A's and be the best and be better than all their friends' kids. But I had other plans, and, you always want what your parents don't want for you. So I think growing up, I really pushed the limits and snuck out of the house and explored SGV with my friends and go like hiking at night and do crazy things like that. Want to go to cafes. I think the big thing in the SGV scene when I was jumping out my window when I was a teenager was going to cafes like JR Cafe or Nice Cafe and just hanging out with my friends and having boba and fried rice at 1 a.m. at Nice Cafe. Like that would be my jam. So yeah, I love the SGV for that.
And what was it like growing up of mixed race and actually, having a Japanese father and Caucasian mother is quite unique.
It's rare. Yeah. My dad scored. He got the blonde. He got the blonde. Growing up was difficult for me because I had kind of two identities, right? Like I had my American side where, I loved all things American, but then my Japanese side that I didn't really know because my dad growing up is like, take Spanish. You don't need to learn Japanese. And I'm like, Dad, they give Japanese classes in high school. He's like, no. Spanish is the future, honey. Don't worry about it. And it was like, him trying to kind of wash me and just not worry about that. So I was just like, no, forget you, Dad. I'm going to learn everything there is about being Japanese. And, so it was hard. And growing up as a JA mixed race girl, I didn't really have a lot of friends like that. My friends were all Chinese and Korean, and there were no mixed race friends. If you see one, it's like a unicorn. It's like, oh, I heard that there's a Hapa girl at Keppel, and there's another Hapa girl in ninth grade, and another Hapa. It was just like here and there. So it was really hard. So I didn't really have a lot of friends that were like, girl, I know, I feel you, or I was always kind of alone. And then I didn't really speak any other languages at the time. I was learning Japanese, and all my other friends were like, they knew Chinese, they knew Korean, and I was like, man, I don't know anything, So it was difficult because you don't really know which race to identify with. And in high school, I think it's very racial. I mean, it was for me. I went to Arcadia High, and there's a lot of Asians there. Not as much as now, but there were a lot. And the Koreans stuck with the Koreans, the Chinese stuck with the Chinese. The white people were like the cheerleaders, and it was a little bit. It was like that. It was a little different, and I was kind of a part of all the groups because I didn't have an identity. There's no Japanese group, so I was like, hey, what's up, Korean group? Hey, what's up, Chinese group? And then you have like the rebellious Asian American group that were like hanging out with all the skaters, and I knew them too. So yeah, it's a little difficult because you don't have an identity yet. You're still discovering.
So I'm Japanese American also. And, I never actually met anybody except for you now who was Japanese in this SGV whose parents were intentional about not like pushing the culture.
Yeah.
Because all of my friends went to Japanese school on the weekend.
Yeah, I wish I was part of your group because that wasn't even in the cards for me. They didn't even talk about it. I didn't even know about Japanese school. So
you didn't even know?
No, I didn't know. I had to like hear it from later from like my Japanese friends are like, oh, I went to J school. And I'm like, what's a J school?
Wow.
And then, but they spoke poorly of it. And I'm like, oh, but that sounds really cool. And I was like, man, I wish I could have done that. So yeah.
I wish I could have too, and all my friends hated it. Well, I say that now because I wish I could speak, but so did you go to like Obon festivals? You didn't go to Obon festivals?
No.
You didn't play J-League?
They didn't let me do any of that. They didn't encourage any of that. My grandparents, though, my grandfather, Satoru Toyota, and he was really active in the JA community. And he would do Obon, and he was president of the Kumamoto Kenjinkai, like organization for all of the Japanese that were here from Kumamoto. And so he was really involved, but it was kind of like, I knew that they did things and I knew they went to some festival, but it was kind of like they didn't bring me with them because they were just, I think, busy running things. And my parents were just like, they don't need to do that stuff. So it was, like it was happening on the sidelines. I kind of had a clue, but I wasn't involved. So now I'm involved, and I get to go to Obon now. And I send my kids, I was sending my kids to J school. So it was like, you always want to be the better generation. So what your parents didn't get to do for you or you didn't agree, then you can carry it on to your generation when you're raising your own kids. So,
sure.
Yeah.
So at home, culturally, would you say that you grew up American then?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had my Japanese grandparents would come by and they would bring like Japanese food, and we would go to Tokyo Lobby. You remember Tokyo Lobby?
Yeah.
What is it on Las Tunas in San Gabriel? Like,
yeah.
I love that place. So that was like a treat because we would do family dinners there and stuff. So we were still exposed to some Japanese food, and I think it was more food that we were exposed to, if any. That's it.
Okay. And so, when did you start getting interested in cars?
Oh, cars! It was high school, because in my days of jumping out the window, I would go out with my friends, and then their friends drove cars, and then a lot of times the cars were fixed up, and I was like, dude, this car is dope. Like, I want to ride in that car. We would caravan to places, and then there'd be like the fixed up car, and then someone driving the Camry. And I'm like, can I go in that car? Like, can I go in the fixed up car? And so that's kind of where I got my first taste. And then those friends would also go street racing. And I was just in love with street racing. We would go to Ontario and go to the street races. And it was like the heyday of street racing at that time, like drag racing. And I was like, call me up. I'll jump out the window that night and then we'll row. So it was like, so I had a lot of fun, with other friends, just watching them do it and being kind of encompassed into that like car culture. And there was this one girl at the drag races. She was drag racing. It was the only one. And she had a purple Honda Civic coupe, like a 93 or 92. And her license plate said Kimbo. And she would run the guys. She wouldn't always win, but it was just like, oh, that girl's so cool. Like, I'm going to be like her. And it was kind of like that little moment that sticks with you. And then you kind of, it's just like your path, It's like, okay, I look where I'm going there. Like, that's what I want to do. So from then on, I was just like all about the cars, and I didn't even have a driver's license yet. So I got it pretty late. I got it, I think when I was 18, but I was at the drag races when I was like 15, 16, actually 14, 15, 16. I was really young. So, yeah.
I'm sorry, what high school did you go to?
So I went to Arcadia High, but then I got in trouble. My mom got really mad at me from ditching school too much.
Oh.
See, I'm admitting all of this on air. This is bad. And so then she's like, you're going to Temple City. That's it. So that was my quote unquote punishment, to go to Temple City and take me away from all my friends. So, I graduated from Temple City independent. I started in Temple City as a junior, and then I became a teen mother. And then I graduated at the top of my independent studies class, and I graduated from Temple City.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I was curious because, fixed-up cars at Mark Keppel are very different from fixed-up cars at Arcadia.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And sometimes they're not even fixed up. Sometimes they had really nice cars there, right, at Arcadia High.
We had a lot of Beamers, a lot of 3 Series. And then I went to Temple City. And that's where I was so down with those cars. It was like the 4-door Honda Accord slammed on stocks, totally. That was one of my good friends. And I'm like, hey, are you driving? Let's go out to lunch. And I loved rolling with him because it was in the Accord and it was slammed and loud and had a big 5-inch exhaust tip. And that was the jam. So, yeah.
Oh, speaking of, so you got kicked out or your mom moved you?
My mom moved me.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have a quick story about us ditching school. So, I was ditching school a lot, in high school.
Naughty boy.
And then I got in trouble, or they thought I got in trouble for forging notes.
Oh, same.
Right, because I was writing notes then. Right.
How many did you do?
Oh, I think in one quarter I had like 43 absences.
Oh, I had 20.
First and second.
I had 25. You win.
But wait, hold on, check this out. So the science teacher, I forget his name. I think his name was Mr. Schnell or something. Kids didn't like him. He was so excited that I was busted now. He's like, I knew it. You're in trouble now. And then I was going to get kicked out of the basketball team.
Oh.
So my coach convinced my mom to say that it was her daughter writing it. And he said that we'll take care of the discipline here on the team, but keep him in here. Nice. So she wrote that note and I didn't get in trouble. And I went back to Mr. Schnell. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You thought you got me, but
You one-upped him. Man, I should have been on the basketball team. That's the pass. That's the pass.
I guess, yeah. So sorry to take the spotlight from you, but so you went to Temple City. You started going to these street races, and can you describe what those were like for people who've never been?
Yeah, street races are totally illegal, completely dangerous. Usually takes place in an industrial area where there's just warehouses and stuff, which was abundant back in that time in the 90s, the mid 90s to the early, probably mid 90s, in Ontario. So, you all meet at a certain place. And then once there's a lot of people, then you caravan to the running spot, the spot where you do the drag races. And so then everybody caravans to a dark industrial street, parks on both sides of the street, and then another person gets out and they start flagging, and people will come and volunteer, who is going to race who, and they'll decide. and they'll pop hoods and compare engines and say like, yeah, let's run. And then the person there flags, and then they drag race, and then we come up with the finish line, like, okay, the finish line is going to be that pole with the big tree, and then everyone just runs, and then it's just one after the other. And it's really exciting, but really dumb, really dangerous. And then, then you hear the helicopters, and then you're like, it's a bust. And then, dang it, we picked a one way in, one way out street. Dang it, the cops are there blocking the street, and then everyone's going to get a ticket or like get their car impounded. Or it was just like, it was so dumb and so dangerous, but so fun, So it's like, cops, bust. And then everyone runs to their cars, and then they're like getting in their cars, trying to leave. And it was just, that was the heyday. Like, that was fun.
Did you ever get busted?
No, I was good. I was like, dude, we got to park by the exit. We can't do a one-way street. If we're going to do that, we got to go over here. And like, we were thinking a step ahead, but it was really fun when it was. Yeah.
And your parents had no clue that you were out.
No, I'm not going to, if they're watching today, I'm in trouble.
So you see this female racer there,
yes.
and you're like, oh, okay, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And then where does your journey go?
It kind of got sidetracked a little bit because, I was a teen mother, and that throws a wrench in all your plans, and you think your life is over. So, I had to deal with that for really a long time, because then your parents are mad at you, and then you're embarrassed, and you're trying to go to college. And then it's like, here I am at my most transitional year of my life, maybe, because it's like, I'm graduating from high school. I got to start college, but I have this like child I have to raise. So, it was like, I did get to go to college, but I didn't get to have the college fun that everyone else did, like dorming and going out with like the fraternities and sororities and things like that. Like, I missed out on that, but I did get to go to college. My living situation was crazy because, when you're a rebellious teenager, then you're a teen mom, you don't want to listen to your parents. And then they're even madder than ever at you because you're a teen parent. And then they think really poorly of you. And then you just like, ugh, I don't want to live with these people. So it was like me trying to find a different place to live. And, finally I had my daughter. I kind of was like leaving home and then coming back, leaving home and coming back. And so finally I decided just to move away. And then when I moved away, my cousin, offered me a car, and he's like, well, I just have a car. I know you need one because you have a kid. $500. It's not a good car. It's messed up. It's probably not going to last that much longer. And I'm like, I'll take it because I need a car. I don't have a license yet. See, I wasn't even 18. And so he let me have the car for $500, and it was a Nissan 240SX.
Wow.
And it had blue bubbly tint on the back, and it was automatic, and it was not a good looker, but it was mine. And so then I learned how to drive in it, and I got my license, and then I lowered it, and then I put wheels on it. And then it was like the journey was started. So, and I kind of renewed it. And it was really funny because I was like, I'll get this car, and then I'll sell it, and I'll get a Civic. So that was the plan, like get a Honda Civic. And that never happened because then I was going to Japanese bookstores and looking at magazines and videos. And then I found out that my 240 in the USA in Japan is a 180SX. And that is one of the most popular drifting cars. And then I learned what drifting was in magazines. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my car is on the cover, like a 180SX is on the cover of these magazines, and that's the car that I have. So my car could be really, really cool. I'm going to keep this. So it was like this new world that was like opened up to me through these magazines. And I was going to Kinokuniya, these Japanese bookstores, to go get like J-pop CDs. Like I wasn't here to get like car magazines, but I like walked by one day and I was just like, what is this car magazine? It looks like my car. So it was just really weird things popping up in my life that was like the meant to be's that you just don't realize. Like the girl that you see, Kimbo, or this ugly car your cousin sells to you, like will have such an impact later, right? So So yeah, that's how it started for me. And then it just snowballed. And at that time, I started drag racing my 240 when it was automatic. It's ridiculous, ridiculous. I ran a 17.9 in the quarter mile, and I'm like, yes, good reaction time and everything. And I just had the hunger to race, you know. And then years later, I met my now husband Benson at a 240SX owners meeting. And we met, and I really liked that guy because he had a really cool car. I was into guys with cars. Yeah. And it's kind of like we met, and he introduced me more to drifting. And I swapped my motor for a Japanese 180SX motor. It's turbo and faster, and switched my car to stick.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah. And then my drifting career started.
Awesome. Yeah. I want to get more into that career,
Yeah.
but I'm also curious, like, you know, I always want to know these things from my own parenting journey. Are you aware now as an adult what you were rebelling against? And like, what was your connection like with your parents, like when you were now like a mom?
Yeah, I think I was rebelling against their tight hold on me and their lack of, like, they're more authoritative, and I didn't have a voice in the house, and they just really clamped down on me. And it was kind of like, this is what I say, this is how it is, this is how it goes, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And, you know, I couldn't tell them how I was feeling, because it was like, don't tell us how you feel. I don't care how you feel. This is how it is. So it was like that kind of authority in the household. They just had a really tight hold on me, and I didn't appreciate that. And I mean, as a parent now, I understand, because they were just so worried about me, and I'm a daughter, and we always worry about our daughters, you know, going out into the world and getting kidnapped and stuff. So it's like, I get it. They were just a little bit more extreme and mean about it. But fast forward to now, I love my parents, and we have like the most strong relationship we've ever had in my whole entire life. So things have turned around, but I mean, it was rocky for a really long time, even until when I got married, they didn't go to my wedding. So it was like, you know, it was really bad until we reached an understanding, and I kind of grew up and understood things from their perspective, and they told me finally that they're proud of me, because that's also what we grew up wanting to please our parents, and they never told me they're proud of me. So finally, when I was like 40, they're like, I'm proud of you. And I'm like, dang, it took 40 years for you guys to tell me that, when it didn't even matter anymore. I was like, whatever, like, thanks. But it was great. Like, we're wonderful now. And I love my parents, and you know, I know that we had a bad past, but I think it was learning for them, because I was their first kid. So it's always a learning game when you have children, is, you know, it's an experiment. So your first kid's an experiment, and if something doesn't work, then you try something different with your second kid, and I can't fault them for that. So yeah, all water under the bridge now.
I can't imagine the challenges of being a young parent.
Yeah.
I mean, it's challenging being an adult parent, right? It's like very challenging.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, that must have been quite trying for you at that age.
It sucked. It was hard. It was really hard. And I had to lean a lot on community services, and just try to be really resourceful, and figure out how I can get as much as possible for free, because I didn't have any money. My job was like super I didn't even have a job first, and then I finally found a job, and just a lot of organizations lifting me up and trying to support me. So without those organizations, you know, I wouldn't have met the wonderful people in my life that kind of brought me to like having a job and reaching more stability in my life, both my professional life, my college life, and at home. So there's a lot of support out there, luckily, even back then in, you know, 1997, when I was a teen mom. So, yeah. Was
there any one person who was there with you, like sort of like your rock and your, like, brought you stability during that time? Yeah. Kathy Ramos was a licensed marriage family therapist, and she was through San Gabriel Hospital, and it was a program for teen parents. And so we would go to, we call it group. We'd go to group every Wednesday,
and talk. And my parents, they don't want to talk to a counselor or a therapist, but she got my parents to actually talk to her, and she came to their house and we all talked, and she really tried to mend our relationship. And I think that was the start of our healing, but it was just a really rocky time. But she introduced me to Sophia Choi, who became my first boss. And she's an accountant. So I started working at her accounting firm out in Alhambra for 6 years. And Sophia was amazing. She was on the Chamber of Commerce, Seroptimus International, which is here in the SGV, a nonprofit that helps women in need. And it was just, I was around all that, and she really was inspiring to me. And now Sophia is still an accountant here in the SGV, but she's also a ballroom dancer, and she's a senior ballroom dancer, and she is so hot. She looks like she's 30, and she's a single mother. And she's beautiful and amazing. And I think that she really inspired me to be involved in the community more and be more independent and go against the grain, like, you know. And I think all that through just meeting people through community organizations. But I think Kathy and Sophia were both part of Seroptimus International. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with that organization, but it's a women's service club, Alhambra, San Gabriel, San Marino. And I don't think that they're highlighted enough, because I think that their activity has not been as much lately. But if you go into a city line, sometimes you see those, like you see Rotary Club, there's logos on the Welcome to Alhambra sign or something like that. I remember which cities have them, and they have the organizations that are within there, right? The Chamber of Commerce. And so Seroptimus is always there too. So it's, but yeah, look them up if you're not familiar, but they're a really good women's service organization that really helped me. So, yeah.
So thank you for sharing that part of your story with us. I'm always interested in the events in someone's life that sort of shape who they are and develop things, right? Because you develop patience through, really trying events, and you develop grit and whatever through things that test you, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sort of getting this picture of the things that you've gone through, right? And so you saw this guy with a cool car.
Yes.
And so please continue the story from there.
Benson?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or your own journey. Like you met Benson and you liked his car. Right? Is that right?
I saw Benson's car before I knew him.
Okay.
I would drive in the streets of West Covina, and I'd be driving down Azusa, and I would turn my head. I'm like, oh snap, that's a Sil 80. That's that Sil 80 guy. And he was the only one, in the SGV that had a Sil 80. And I'm like, dude, I love his car. I wonder how he looks. And it's funny. And I met him on the Yahoo groups, the SoCal 240SX Yahoo groups. And yeah, I met him, and the minute I met him, I was like, oh, he's so cute. And we like caravanned to a owner's meeting together. And I was just like on him like glue. I was like, oh, this is the guy, And I pursued him. And then next thing you knew it, we were together. So, but it took some convincing, because he was so sweet and like well-mannered. It took a while for me to like get him, because I was like, hey, why aren't you asking me out yet? Yeah.
So where was your car and where was your drifting career at that stage?
Infancy. My car was fixed up and I had a bunch of parts, but it was still automatic. I was just learning about drifting at the time, and so was Benson. So I think like we experienced the infancy mostly together. And he would take me to GMR with him, and I would ride with him because I was just like, I want to see what this is. And then finally, when Benson started driving sanctioned drift events through Drift Association at Irwindale Speedway, that's when I was like, okay, I cannot ride with you anymore. I must take my own car. And so even when my car was automatic, I'm like, I've got to figure out a way to like drift this thing because I want to go drifting on my own. I cannot sit passenger with a guy. That's like goes against my grain. So that's when it started. And I was like as soon as he started drifting, I was just like, okay, I need to hurry up and get a motor from Japan so I can switch my car to 5-speed so I can go drifting, so I can go start competing. And like, I just had this like path mapped out in my brain of where I wanted to go. But it was always with Benson at my side. Like it was like drifting and him and me, like we were just synonymous together.
Did you get your automatic to drift?
It was really ugly. Not really. It was too hard. And I was just like, I'm not cool. I'm an imposter. You know, the imposter syndrome hits. And then you don't want people to know that your car's automatic, but it is. And then you feel really ashamed. And I was like, I need to order that clip, that front end from Japan, like ASAP. So yeah, didn't work so good.
So did you learn on the streets and doing illegal stuff also?
You know, not really. Not really. I'm not as bad as Benson. No, I actually sat a lot with him and learned what not to do and helped him not get busted. And it was cool. And then, no, I actually did all my learning on the track. I'm really happy to say that, which is funny because I'm the crazy girl that would jump out the window all the time and get busted all the time. And then Benson, he did a little bad stuff, but like he's actually the straight edge. Okay. Like he's the good boy. So.
Well, jumping out windows to go to street races at night is something I'm familiar with. But,
oh boy!
Yeah,
we should have you on
I didn't jump out windows, but I mean, I left, at night.
Yeah, but. That's what you did. That's SGV style.
Yeah,
you gotta go.
Yeah,
you gotta go to the cafe.
So you learned your drifting on the track, and did you know then that you were going to pursue this all the way? Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was the goal.
And what line did you see that you could pursue in terms of like what you wanted to do in the future?
I wanted to just master, because I think whatever I do, I want to learn as much as I can about it and master it and be the best possible. Because when I pursue something, I go all in. And so it was just like, I don't want to like think of what could possibly be. I just want to get there. And like, I just had a vision because it was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go all in. So that's what I did.
Were there barriers for you because you were a woman?
Oh, for sure. For sure. The internet hates, they really despise the women drivers. And so it was hard at that time because there was these things called forums and before, so it was this website and you go and you post, people post things and then you reply and we called them forums or message boards back in that time. And there were people talking about me and linking to my website and saying, look at this girl, she's such a poser. And, it's really, there's a lot of noise like that because there's a lot of little boys in their computers, like, talking about me. But of course it wasn't the drivers doing that. It's these little boys that don't even drift and just sideline talk. And then, at the track, I was always supported by the guy drivers for sure. So it was just, and then the other difficulty is myself, right? Because then I feel like if I'm one of the only women drifting, then everything's on my shoulders. And so me and my friend Yoshie, we were the first two women to be drifting in the USA. And that's kind of a heavy weight to carry. Yoshie, she didn't really think about it like that, but I did. Because I kind of cared how I represent women and I wanted to do it justice and like do really well, because if Yoshie and I were good at drifting, then people can generalize and say women are good at drifting. But if we sucked, then it was like, see, I told you women can't drive. So it was really difficult. And that was really not good for my confidence, because I wanted to be amazing at it, but it's something that you had to work at. And we didn't really have internet training videos and drift Bibles like we have today, where, you could actually buy books on drifting and buy videos that teach you how to drift. Like it was back then, it was just kind of like you have to learn on the track from people who don't really know that much, but they know a little bit more than you. But there's no like guidelines they're teaching you by. It was just like, this guy kind of knows, he'll teach you. So it's really hard to learn in that kind of environment. So it takes time, takes long time to learn how to do a donut or drive a full course or transition your car from left to right while you're sliding. Like, that's hard stuff. But yeah, it was really difficult for me, which is why I founded Drifting Pretty, because I wanted more women with me, because I was just like, there cannot be just me and Yoshie doing this. Like, there has to be other girls that want to do this. And then they would email me on my website too, saying like, oh my God, I love what you do, but I could never do it because I just don't know anybody, and I'm scared. So I got a lot of those emails. And so that's why I founded Drifting Pretty, which is my organization for like the advancement of women in drifting. And so that was where that came from. And that was in 2003.
I'm trying to imagine like picking up the skill, right? Like, cause you only get to do it for a certain amount of time, right? Mm-hmm. Do you spend a lot of time thinking about it afterwards, like what you're going to do? It's not like you can just go out and like practice shooting hoops or something and work on it like every day, right?
Well, the problem is that if you think too much, you overthink. And then when your hands and your feet are trying to play out what you're thinking in your mind, they don't connect. And then it's like you get in your own way. So I did a lot of that where I was like, okay, next time I'm going to be prepared because I'm going to dream about it and think about it and replay it in my mind, and it's going to happen. And it never worked for me. So it was just like the only thing that I could do is just listen and be in the car with a bunch of different instructors, because every instructor is very different. So one instructor might be terrible for me, and I don't learn anything from that guy because he doesn't say anything great. And then this other instructor could say something that really resonates with my drifting mind, and it's like, I've got it. Eureka, let's do it. And then I'll like finish a course. And so it's interesting how learning drifting is that it really was that depends on who's teaching you, and also your mind, like what your mind needs to learn, because we all learn differently. Some people have to watch videos, and other people have to think about it, and other people like me just have to hear it in words that make sense. And then I just compute that, and then my hands and feet react. So, yeah.
How would you describe your style of drifting?
Pretty, like very showy. Because like I was really big into car shows. I loved car shows. And a lot of car show people don't race. That doesn't mix. You usually do one or the other. So I always wanted the most bling bling car. But I also wanted really nice drifts with like a lot of smoke. So because it just in those days that was really rare, because all the cars on the racetrack, they just looked whatever. That was just like they had some wheels that they had, and they didn't really paint their car or put stickers. It was like built only for race. And so my car was always the one that didn't look like it belonged. And so that was really my vibe. It's just like fancy drifting.
Would you say that your style is recognizable on the track?
I think so, because of my car. Yes.
So tell us about it now. So you went from automatic with bubbling tint on the back, right? And can you share about the story, how you lowered it?
Yeah, so when I got my driver's license, one of the first mods was lowering your car. And when you lower your car, you buy shorter springs to lower your car.
If you can afford it.
But I could not afford it because I was a teen mother. So I took my factory springs, and then I'm like, well, if the springs you buy are shorter, then why don't you just make the springs that your car comes with shorter? Yeah. So then it's like, then the question is, how short do you go? Because I don't have a spring to compare it to, and we didn't have the internet back then to like look at a YouTube video and figure it out. So I was like, let's just cut half. So I cut half the spring off and then put the other half back in.
So for those who don't know, like I also cut my springs because I could not afford it, right? But we would go like 1.5, maybe 2 coils. So half is like 4 or 5 coils, right?
Yeah. Well, it depends on the car.
Yes.
Right. At 240, the coils in the front are like really big. And so, yeah, it looked very short, the spring.
So how awesome was the ride after that?
That was the worst ride of my whole entire life. You would, like, there's this little drop off when you leave the driveway, like this big. And then the car would roll off the drop off and the car would go like this. Like, it would just vibrate like, and I'm like, I can't drive like this. But it looked good.
Yeah, I bet.
It looked so good, but rode so bad. Like, it was not drivable. So I had to put my car back up on the driveway, and then it was down for weeks because I had to save the money to buy the real springs, which were like $230 or something like that, you know. But I had to wait. I had to scrape and like eat bread and like just do all the things to scrape up money to be able to afford that, because I'm also, mind you, I'm a teen mother and like I barely had a job that paid me anything. So yeah, that was the vibe back then. Do what it takes and get your car fixed up, feed your child, go to work.
Wow. Did you have it up on blocks and did you like saw it with a hacksaw?
No, it was a skill saw.
Okay, I mean, we did it with a hacksaw, but skill saws will step up.
Yeah, it's a little sparky, but yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, I've seen some video, and I definitely have seen the car. So you're pursuing this, and now I'm getting the sense of like what it meant for you, for women to represent women in this, and when you started Drifting Pretty, were people coming to you right away to learn, or is that?
Yeah. So I already had a bunch of women in my inbox, like, you know, sending me those emails, and they were from all over the world. But there was a concentration in California, from Northern and Southern California. So I invited them to the first meeting of Drifting Pretty in December of 2003. And I'm like, hey, I think I want to do something. Like, don't worry if you don't have a car. I know you're going to get there if you really want to. So just, can you do me a favor and come and meet me at the park and let's talk. And, you know, I'm thinking of starting something. And so 14 girls showed up, and that was the first meeting of Drifting Pretty. And then the following year we were at the track together.
Wow.
So it was really, really exciting. The magazine was there. The Drifting magazine was there. Import Racer magazine was there at my meeting. Ken Gushi, who's a pro driver now, like, he was at the meeting, and we were kind of documenting it because it was like the start of something. I didn't quite know what, but I was like, we're going to do something big, you know, because I'm going to go all in. And yeah, and so that's how we got our first members, and we really learned a lot really quick.
Did you teach those members?
Yeah, so I taught them a lot of the basics and a lot of the mind, like the perspective stuff, because being in racing, you really, as a female, you care a lot about what people think of you, and you think everyone's watching you. So I had to deprogram them from thinking that everyone's watching you and that everyone's really caring what they're doing. So I would say, like, no one's watching, no one cares. Don't worry about it. You can do this, and don't ever tell me that you can't. So that was like my job, like kind of building their self-esteem up. And then I had Benson, my husband, and our other best friend, Mark, and they were our instructors. And so I would have them, because they're more experienced than me, so they would help do classes, and then I would get sponsors to come in and all around the SGV and just say, like, hey, can you do a workshop for my students on a Saturday? So they would open up their shops on Saturdays and say, yeah, come on by. So we were at HJC Helmets in La Habra, and they're like, yeah, come by on Saturday. We'll come in for you guys, and we'll teach them about helmet safety. And then ACT Clutches, and they're in Lancaster, but the owner, he's like, I'll lead a workshop. I'll show you how clutches are made. And so we would go on these field trips, and we'd call them field trips. And then sometimes we would do tech days, and I needed to swap my motor for the second time because my car was going to get painted, and I wanted to take my motor out of my car and paint the whole car. So I said, hey, let's do a tech day and take out my motor. So we would get together and we took out my motor, And we're going to be on TV for something. So I think there was TV people there filming too. And it's just gold what we were doing. It was so fun, but it was still really underground because drifting was still pretty underground at the time. But that's how Drifting Pretty started. And we got deep into it really quick.
It sounds like it was important to you for your team to know everything about the car, what goes into it, the maintenance, and not just the driving.
Yeah, it's really important because I think that in drifting, because it's a grassroots motorsport, you have to change your own tires. You have to change your own oil. You have to prep your car. And we're all driving with like 1990s cars. So they're not exactly like the most brand new cars. This is the 2000s. You know, we're in 2003, 2004. And like these cars are a 1989 Nissan 240SX. You've got to learn how to maintain it because you don't want to bring it to the track and blow the motor on your first run because you haven't changed the oil in 10 years, you know? So it's like, that was really important. And I feel like you become more one with the race car because if you're running the car and then you realize, oh, the car's not sliding correctly. Oh, I didn't put my tire on right. Or like, oh, I'm running out of tread. I see it. Or like, oh, what's the tire pressure? Like those are all things that you learn when you're working on cars. So
how did it feel to see your team after that first year, like competing?
You know, I was alongside with them competing. So I didn't get a lot of moments to just stop and smell the roses. I had my head down working. And it was really difficult too because there was a lot of outside noise, you know, people saying like, oh, you should do this or you should do that or those girls suck. And like, and it was just hard to drown it all out. And it's just, that's the one thing that I wish I had more time to do was just stop and smell the roses and realize how far we had come. But we were on our way to go compete professionally in the Formula Drift Series because it was like, well, I'm going there. You guys are coming with me. So that was like a big segue into like the next chapter for Drifting Pretty is like, hey, we're going pro. And then I learned really quick that that's not for everybody, you know, and same for myself, right? Like I went pro and I took one other girl that wanted to do it with me. So it was just only 2 of us out of the 14 that really, really wanted it as bad as I did. And then the rest were like, hey, drifting is really fun, but I don't need to go compete. And I was like, whatever. Okay, I got to go pro. And at the time I was just whatever about it. But now looking back, it's like, I understand them more now. I have more perspective. So, but yeah, it was really, I had a really good time with them. And I learned a lot about myself. And I think now in all my successes these days, I owe it to Drifting Pretty and just drifting what it's taught me. And my mental game, it really was a huge test and adjustment that I benefit from even today. So, yeah.
What was it like competing at the pro level?
Competing in the pro level is a mind FECK. It's really, really hard. It's really competitive and, we're all good drivers, but you have to be in the right mindset and you have to have your self-confidence. If you don't have the self-confidence, then you are going to crash and you will not succeed. So, so you can't have jitters and you have to be confident that you're going to make the run and do a good job and win. And it's just a really hard mindset to have, that champion mindset. We don't all have that. And I didn't have it. I was a mess. And I felt like barfing before the event. And I crashed and I was like, I'm a failure. I don't want to go run again because I might crash again. It was just a very what's not going to kill you is going to make you stronger. But at the time, I was just like at my lowest, where it's just like, I was beating myself up left and right. My crash was really small, but it was my first pro event. And it's like, man, I start my first pro event with a crash? And it was like the worst thing ever. But my car wasn't that bad and we fixed it. And then I went on to Chicago and I did great. But that was hard. That was hard to get the car back on the carrier, go to Chicago and be like, oh, great, I got to run again. Don't crash, don't crash, don't crash. And like, don't make your first run out and crash again. And so here I am like trying to drift this course and think about racing line and speed and smoke, and then also don't crash, don't hit the wall, don't hit the wall. And so it was really hard for me. And then I realized I was letting my sponsors down because I was a paid driver. We were getting endorsements. And so people were paying me cash to go run their logos on my car and on my racing suits. So then it's like, oh man, if I crash, I'm letting them down. If I don't qualify, why did they pay me all this money? So it was not fun. It wasn't fun for me. And then I realized, like, yeah, I don't think competing professionally is for me, because sure, I get to travel and see new places, but the mind game, it was just too much for me. It was overwhelming because all of women in racing women in drifting was on my shoulders. Yoshie was there, my friend Yoshie. She was there racing with me, but she's like bulletproof. But she was still choking and I was choking. There was another girl, Verena, that came on, and she was doing okay. But I think we were all very early in the game, but it was so hard. It was hard being among the only few, right? But in hindsight, it was great. I mean, I had a good time and a lot of amazing memories from traveling. And then I bonded with Benson because Benson drove the first season of drifting, of Formula Drift, the pro drifting series. And I drove the second season. And so he was my support and I was his support. And a lot of our friends that couldn't drive the series got to come with us and be pit crew. And a lot of good came out of that. It's just, I know that I'm not that kind of competitor where I could have that much. I'm not a, in F1, I'm not a F1 championship driver. That's not going to be my calling, because drifting is supposed to be fun. And when you have fun, you do good and you have a good time. So I learned that, but I mean, I don't regret any of it. Those were really fun times and memorable times.
I've often heard of the weight of being the first, right? And in movies or books, but like to hear it from your perspective and to now like to see it from through those eyes, like that's tough.
Yeah, it sucked.
Do you remember when Danica Patrick first?
Oh yeah,
started
Danica
racing?
was my girl. she's amazing, but she's bulletproof, and no one could get to her because she was just like a bruiser, And I understood why she's like that, because you can't take crap. You can take no crap, and you can give no. You don't have a care in the world what people think, and you have to have that mentality because everyone's there when you're the spectacle, and they want to just bring you down.
Were women championing your cause, like coming up to you and thanking you, or were they tearing you down?
No, they weren't tearing me down, but they were, I think, in awe and amazed, but they weren't saying anything to me. So that's also tough, right? Because I really didn't get the thanks and the grace until I retired, and after. And I think only the last 5 years, finally people realize oh snap, you did that then, thank you for paving the way. But I didn't get that at the time. It was just, we had our head down working, and we didn't come up for air much and have enough time to really reflect. So
have you had that time now to take the 30,000 foot view and look back at what you've done and what you've accomplished?
Yeah. The view is nice, and it really molded me and had a huge impact on who I am today. It's everything. So no regrets, and I'm not ashamed of it. And I had a really good, it's all I crashed and I had a really hard time mentally, but I'm much more resilient now and confident. And I wouldn't have gotten that if I didn't drive that series and have all those hardships and deal with all the people bad-mouthing me and stuff. So yeah, I have nothing but good vibes, good feelings, and I'm just thankful.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. Nadine, we ask each guest to bring an item with them. What did you bring with you today?
Ooh, I brought a few items.
Both of you are cheaters.
I know. Well, he started it. But I'm
okay.
also going to go against the grain. And my first two items are my children's books, Sachiko Goes Racing and Sachiko and the Bully, right here. And these aren't my items. These are gifts for your kids.
Oh, yes. I was like, I hope
You're like,
so
give me
much.
them, give me
Yes,
them.
thank you so much.
Yeah, so those are my 2 children's books, and they are based on my hardships in drifting. So what I told you today is pretty much in those books.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much.
Yeah. My real items, I have this key right here. I'm going to cover this. Don't cut it. Don't copy it.
Can they do that from a video?
I don't know, but I would. So this is a key to my car. And like I said, in the USA, my car's a 240SX, but in Japan, it's a 180SX. And this is a 180SX key. And, I got this key from a sponsor who was sponsoring me, Pune Hills Nissan. And he got me this rare key. He's like, hey, I could get a 180 key. I'm like, can you please import it for me? And he would import parts for me and test to see if he could actually get them, like 180SX parts. And so he would get me taillights and rare blinkers. And he would order JDM parts, like brand new ones, Nissan ones from Nissan Japan. And they would actually ship it to, it's actually Superior Nissan. It was Superior Nissan, isn't La Puente, whatever, but... Is it La Puente? No, it's on Colima, Roland Heights. I don't know, but yeah. And so this key just signifies, all the hard work getting parts for my drift car. As a labor of love, I was building it. I've been building it since 1998 when I got my license to 2024 today, and this signifies my journey. This is one of my rarest parts, and I don't really use it as I just gawk at it because no one probably has this key except me in the USA. I don't know. So, but it just signifies the long journey of building my Nissan 240SX, and I'm so proud to say that I still have it today. So
yeah, that's so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so happy for you that you still have it.
Yeah, thank you. I am too. I've crashed it many a times, and it's still good. The other.
Wait, do you plan on passing it on?
Yes. I told my kids they could never sell it.
Okay.
My youngest asked me, she goes, what do you want me to do with it? And I'm like, put it in a museum. And she goes, okay. So we have an understanding. Yes. It's an heirloom family car.
Yeah.
Is it okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
My second item is this magazine called Carboy. And it's a Japanese automotive magazine that's very big in Japan. And they would send photographers to the USA. And this photographer, Yasu, I think is his name, he contacted us and he said, hey, can I come photograph your car? And I'm like, yeah, where do you want to go? He's like, oh, I'll just do it at your house. And I was like, okay, sure, come by. And I had a house in San Gabriel and I was renting. And I really didn't think anything of the shoot. I was like, oh, cool. Well, yeah, if you could do a little like black and white photo, because a lot of times you look inside these books and the pages are black and white. And maybe I'll get like a little black and white photo in the magazine. And he's like, yeah. So he took the photo of me at my house in San Gabriel. And I wasn't really dressed for the occasion. He's like, oh, you want to be in it? And I'm like, okay, sure. Didn't plan on being in the photo. And it ended up being on the cover. And, any automotive enthusiast who has a car, I mean, I know, I can't speak for all of them, but I would think that they would love to be on the cover of a magazine. That would be kind of a bucket, because that was always my bucket list. And I would ask all the editors, like, hey, can I be on the cover? Can I be on the cover? And they're like, we can put you inside. I was like, no. I want to get the cover. And it was just one of those things that I'd always wanted, and I never got it. And then the magazine came out and I got the cover of Carboy. And then it's funny because Carboy put a car girl on the cover. So that's really special to me. I didn't even know what they said about me inside. I didn't even really read it. It's not much of an article inside, but it's just the cover is meant a lot because I really wanted to get the cover of something. And I got it of an international magazine for dudes.
Can I see? That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's funny how, you don't prepare for it. You just fall into the situation, and then all of a sudden it comes to fruition and you're on the cover of a magazine, and you thought he was just coming over for a casual photo shoot. So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you get more than one copy, and then do you have it framed somewhere?
Mm-hmm. I I have a lot of copies, and it's funny that even now, some of our fans are like, I have a copy. Do you want me to ship it to you? And it's so nice. So people still have copies today. So I'm thankful. But yeah, we have a whole hallway of plaques of like the magazine articles that I've been in and Benson's been in. I've been in more, but.
I love your setup, by the way. It's like, really like sort of just like casually lulling us into this like, tiny 1-inch black and white photo that she got in there. She's like, nope. Got the cover.
Well, that was the expectation. So,
well, I want to continue with the story, and I'm interested. When I mentioned Fast and Furious, I think you rolled your eyes on the Zoom, but maybe you didn't. But I want to get into that. But let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
All right.
Sometimes, even the best of us can slip up. That's why the law offices of Scott Wormuth are here to pick you back up again.
And while they strive to get you the biggest compensation possible, oh my gosh!
Their main concern is your health and recovery. They work closely with doctors and insurance companies to make sure you get the proper medical treatment.
Initial consultations are free, so give them a call.
At the law offices of Scott Wormuth, we're with you all the way.
I'm Scott Wormuth. We've been fighting for your rights for more than 40 years.
All right, we're back with Nadine. Before the break, we were talking about the Fast and the Furious. And I think I remember I asked you about that on a Zoom call when we first connected. And I think that you rolled your eyes. Maybe not, but you don't have to reveal that. But before we get into that, when we come back from the break, we like to ask questions from icebreakers. And it's just a way for the audience to get to know us a little bit better. So you can choose to answer it or not. And Victoria is going to participate also. So what are the top 3 things on your bucket list?
Top 3 things. I really have this vision of buying this massive warehouse to store a lot of cars and have like a really nice car collection of like 90s cars. And yeah, so
wow.
That's a bucket. It's I don't really do, and I'm not dreaming. These are goals. Like those are things I'm working towards in life. And so that's one thing is buy a warehouse, put a bunch of cars in there. Like that's number 1.
Okay.
Number 2 bucket, I really want to go watch F1 and get a pass and go to the pit and the paddock and get to see the cars and stuff. I'm a big F1 fan. Never been to a race. I keep telling Benson, like, babe, we gotta go. So, and that'll happen soon. I'm sure. He's like, oh gosh. The 3rd bucket is to go drifting in Japan. That's a big one. But I think that'll happen in the next 2 years. Like those are like very obtainable goals because you could rent a car in Japan and go drifting. Like it's not that hard. So, yeah, we're going to do that.
On a track or like mountain?
On a track and not on a mountain. Yeah, there's tracks. That's the difference between here and Japan is they have like purpose-built drift tracks there. So, yeah.
Okay. Victoria?
It's mostly just places to go to one day. So it's like Germany, China, and then a Caribbean island.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. My bucket list. Well, one of them would be to build my own home with a outdoor cooking area that's like attached and like an indoor, I don't know what it's called, but it's open to the sky, right? So everything faces like there's this like open garden, if you will, in the center. Yeah, courtyard in the home. My second bucket list would be to travel to Japan, to visit Japan, but also to visit the village where my father grew up.
Yeah, same here. Yes.
Yeah. And the third one would be to get my 86 Corolla back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You got to get that.
Yeah. I don't even know if that's possible to search like where it is now with the VIN. I'm hoping that service exists, but that's a dream of mine and my wife's dream for me too. So, yeah. All right. What are the top 3 things on your bucket list? Let us know in the comments. Okay, so back to this Fast and the Furious thing. So, I mean, it's relevant to your story, right?
It is, because I got to stunt double for Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. When Fast and the Furious came out and I heard that they were going to do a drifting movie, I was terrified because drifting to me was like my special underground cool thing. And now it was going to go mainstream. And I was torn because they called me and they're like, hey, can you stunt double for Neela, Tokyo Drift? Yes or no? Let us know. And I'm just like, oh, am I selling out for being involved in something that's going to uncover my underground world of drifting? But also on the other side, will I ever get this opportunity again? So I did it and it was really cool, but it was not as glamorous as you would think. But I got to go into to wardrobe. I got to eat the cool things on set, that they have, like the concessions and stuff. And I sat in Neela's car and they used all my hands and feet. So anytime you see like Neela's hands and feet, anytime you see Neela's hands and feet in Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, those are my hands and feet. But it's very quick shots. So, and I was there like half a day filming and that was it. So it was like as a small thing, but something that I'm really happy to be a part of. And it was an interesting experience. And drifting's brought me nothing but really random, interesting experiences like that. So I'm all for it now. But at the time, it was a little scary, so I didn't want to sell out.
Did they recognize you for who you were in that community?
Yeah, they did. One of our friends, Toshi Hayama, was the technical advisor on that movie, and Toshi is deep into the drifting world in the USA, so he knew everybody. So all the stunt driving was done by the guys that were driving with us, and we've had them on our podcast, and so a lot of the Tokyo drifting scenes are just, they're SoCal drifters from the SUV drifting. So so that made the movie much more palatable to me because a lot of it's filmed in like where is that park? Griffith Park? Yeah, they did some drifting in Griffith Park, and the parking structure drifting is not real. Like, I mean, it was real in the movie, but like that doesn't happen here or in Japan. It's kind of weird, but that's a Hollywood glorified thing. But all the rest were just real drifting by California guys. So I did like that part.
Cool. So. Well, before we move on to the final segment of the show, what is in store in the future for Drifting Pretty and the other things that you have going on? Yeah,
with Drifting Pretty, kind of shifted our focus. I guess I've shifted my focus in life to empowering other women to pursue their passions. Not so much like, hey, you should go race a car and you should go race a car. It's just go seek where you want to go and don't worry about going into male-dominated fields. And I just want to empower them to pursue their passions and have confidence in themselves and share other inspiring stories with other women in the community. So I want to touch a more broad audience rather than the girls that are aspiring racers. Like I want to make more of an impact. So that's what we're trying to do with our podcast. We started it during COVID and then we kind of went on hiatus, and now I have season 2 like half done. So I think I'm just going to drop the whole season just like that.
Really?
I have a lot of it banked from like a year ago, and like I need to finish them up. So, and then Drifting Pretty, I still see the girls often, the original members, and them and I, we go on vacation together. We go go-karting together still. Some of them still race cars. Others have gone on to do amazing things because of what they've learned in drifting. So I'm happy to be a part of that. So that's the future of Drifting Pretty, is I think just empowering a broader audience of women. And then also with Drifting Pretty is my children's book, Sachiko Goes Racing. And with that, I'm hoping to get a wider audience reading my book. I want to be in every Target and Walmart with that book and to share my true stories and being a woman in a male-dominated area. And translating that to like children's books was interesting, but really rewarding. And I've been going to a lot of schools reading the book, and I have really good reception from both little boys and little girls about my story. And I want to just keep sharing that with a wider audience. So hopefully I'm working with the production company on a documentary. So I'm hoping that'll go well, and they'll do a documentary about me and my book. I mean, there's just so many other things going on in my life, but I'm hoping too my car will be involved with the Japanese American National Museum next year. They're working on an exhibit called Cruising J-Town, and that exhibit will be next summer. And so my car is tentatively slated to be inside the museum in that exhibit, but you guys heard it here first. But it's tentative, and nothing is final until the car is in the exhibit. But I'm working closely with the museum, and I really hope everything goes as planned and we can get enough donors to fund that exhibit, and it'll be a reality, which right now I think it'll be okay, but it just hasn't happened, so it's a little surreal for me. So I'm currently planning to refresh my car a little bit, because since that'll be going into a museum for a little bit, it'll be about a 5-month exhibit. So
wow, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
That's really cool.
Yeah, don't congratulate me until it's done. I get nervous, but I hope everything will go as planned, and yeah, I'm really excited for that. So that's a big one.
Yeah, I hope so too. Will they be able to touch it? Will you, will you freak
no.
out? I'm just joking.
Absolutely not.
Well, Nadine, we're going to move on to the final segment of this show where we get to learn about what you like in the San Gabriel Valley.
Yes.
All right, Nadine, this is the SGV3. We get to learn your 3 favorite places or experiences in the SGV.
All right, here we go. My first one, I like to eat. And so it's funny, I met a guy in drifting. His name is Mark Hayashi, and he drifted a 240 just like me. During COVID, I tried this random Japanese restaurant in San Gabriel, and I said, you know what? This food is good. I think a Japanese guy owns this. Couple years later, I walked through the doors of Hayatobi Sushi. Lo and behold, my friend Mark Hayashi is at the sushi bar making sushi. And I'm like, Mark from Drifting Days, Mark? And he's like, hello. And then I'm eating there, and I'm like, oh, so you work here? And he's like, I own it. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, Mark, I love your restaurant. So it's Hayatobi Sushi. It's on Rosemead Boulevard in San Gabriel. It's in that really kind of weird stepchild San Gabriel where it's kind of shoehorned between San Gabriel, San Marino, Temple City. It's on Rosemead, kind of north of Rose Donuts, okay. Above Longdon, but below Doherty Road.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's Hayatobi Sushi.
Is it a standalone building?
It is.
I know exactly where that is.
Yes. Yeah. Sit at the sushi bar, have Mark just make you some sushi. Just say like, hey, you know what, whatever you recommend. And I love the sushi there. And there are other fancier places that you could go to for sushi, but like, man, Mark's place, like that's where it's at. Like,
did you just drop in there on like, you're like, I'm going to check out this place here?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. It was
so
just by chance.
to check that out.
I know because of the area. Yes. And then the atmosphere is not the best. Chef Mark, we got to get you. Yeah. But like the food is amazing. So,
okay.
Support Chef Mark. Go to Hayatobi Sushi.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for that recommendation. Yes. I'm going to go check it out.
Yeah. Okay. The second one, I need your help. So back in I grew up in the 80s. In the 80s at Santa Anita Mall on the second floor, near, you know where GNC is now? Mm-hmm. It used to be there. It was a yogurt shop. And I don't remember the name, but that yogurt shop, every time my dad would take me to Santa Anita Mall to go shopping, he would get me yogurt from there. And it was just my I would get strawberry yogurt. And it was just my favorite thing to do. And I was so sad when that yogurt shop closed down, but it was just like my childhood thing growing up. So if you or anyone remembers what yogurt shop I'm talking about, it's the second floor of the Santa Anita Mall near Robinson's May or Macy's or whatever they call it. Is that Macy's? Yeah, Macy's side. So. Please comment and let us know and tell me what's the name of the place. But yeah,
a lot of good memories there then.
Yes, really fond memories. And I would, my parents and I, we don't go out to restaurants together because my mom doesn't like eating out. But that's the one place that she would actually sit down with me and my dad, and we would have strawberry yogurt. So, yeah, it's
Cool.
good times.
Yeah.
Good times there. My third one was a little bit difficult because I was like, oh, should I keep talking about food? I'm going to talk about food still.
Okay.
So my third one is in East Pasadena near Michelinda. It's called Dot's Cafe. Do you know Dot's Cafe?
There's like a freeway on-ramp right there, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Across from Tops.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Haley is the owner. She's a fellow Asian American gal. And, I think the first Dots was in like Pasadena or something somewhere else. But Dots Cafe opened up, I think a little before COVID. And I fundraised for Dots. Like I was doing front steps, like photo shoots. And I'm like, go to Dots, support them. And then in exchange, I'll give you like a free photo shoot. And we're trying to help during COVID, like all the small businesses. And then once we got out of COVID, that became one of my favorite places to do meetings and just like hang out with the girls and do brunch. And so I can't say enough about like just the vibe that encompasses Dots Cafe. You walk in and you get the flowers on the wall and the balloon installations and the hexagon white tiles and the rose gold everywhere and the cute cupcakes and the really yummy pancakes and the oat milk strawberry lattes and things like that. So it's very my vibe, like SGV mom vibe. And Benson doesn't like going there, my husband, that much because it's so girly. But it's my jam. Like I really like the food, and I have a lot of business meetings there. Like if I don't want to do them at my studio, you'll find me there. And also if I'm having a hard morning and I just need time out, like a timeout where I just sit and think, I go there and just drink a latte. So yeah, that's my SGV3, all food related.
Yeah. Are they the same Dots as Dots Cupcake?
Yes.
Ah, okay. Yeah. I love their cupcakes.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what they were known for. And then they branched off and opened the cafe. I think 2019 or something like that. And they just opened a new location in Orange County now too. So, I mean, props to Haley. She's doing great. Fun fact, the little gift shop next door, Oh Shiny, they have my children's book in there, and they have an amazing gift shop. So I always go Dots Cafe / Oh Shiny.
It's like double cheater, huh? She's
I'm sorry.
They bring 2 items, SGV 4.
3.5. 3.5. Hey, I gotta highlight my faves, okay?
I'm just teasing you. Nadine, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks so
and
much.
Sharing your story. If people want to get a hold of you or, can get in contact with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Drift Queen, and Drifting Pretty is on Instagram at Drifting Pretty. And you can listen to the first season of the Drifting Pretty podcast. It's an older season. It's on Spotify and everything. So you can go there. And I am also at Sachiko Studio. That's kind of my main job. So SACHIKO Studio. And that is it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks, Russell.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. First time double cheater on the show. That's okay. We've had many people throw in bring several items or throw in an extra SGV, but that's okay. I really appreciate it. I'm just giving her a hard time. I'm very thankful to have that story with us now in my SGV podcast. It's always an honor to bring you these stories that are part of our culture here in the SGV and to sort of cement them for all of us for all time. Thank you for spending this time with us. We do appreciate it. If you want to support the show in a more meaningful way, please consider becoming a Patreon at Patreon, MySGV podcast. Check out our full catalog of episodes on our website, mysgv.net. And until next week, we'll see you then. Thank you for joining us on the MySGV podcast. Check out more of our content on our website, mysgv.net. This show was produced by Scott Wormuth, directed by Russell Mano, edited by Victoria Allers, and original music by Yone OG. If you'd like to join us next week as we capture and share more stories from our diverse community, feel welcome.
Nice mother. No, kind of mother.